We are live.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hump day.
Hump
Oh
day.
man, I'm
You're already.
glad. I'm glad everything's kind of working out. Nothing's gone really crazy other than California burning down, which is terrible.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is it could have been prevented. That's what really is sad. You know, the mayor of California cut funding for firefighters. They didn't. The reservoirs are out of water. They can't literally get water to put out the fires. And I'm just wondering, how does this mismanagement happen? And do they do it on purpose? And then the insurance companies apparently canceled everyone's insurance. It's wild.
Yeah. So apparently they canceled everybody's insurance like starting 4 months ago. Even the one actor I follow,
James Woods.
James Woods, yes, they canceled his insurance, which is wild, right? But they canceled all their fire insurance as if they like knew something was coming. Now here's the thing: I understand everybody's like, "Oh, conspiracy theorists, blah blah blah," but I'm sorry, but if all of a sudden fires start at the same time that there's like a super high wind and they have almost no water, and I don't give a shit what anybody says, California is like one of the literally most mismanaged states in the country. It's completely mismanaged, especially when it comes to taking care of the people. We're gonna go over in a little bit like how many people have said like, well, they need to do forestry upkeep. I would just point it out, like the places that have tons of forest that like look after their the fallen trees and stuff like that. They don't seem to burn down all the time. Like.
Yeah, it's mismanagement. Now I lived in Silmar, which is on your way to Stevenson Ranch, Valencia, past the valley, because that's all we could afford. Like when we were 21, my wife and I bought our first house there. And we lived right in the foothills. And right after we left, like a year after we left, like those foothills caught on fire. Luckily, our old neighborhood was okay, but there's always been a fire issue. Like you have to realize, like California is a desert. So when you have it inhabited by folks, you really need to upkeep the shrubbery and everything because it gets dry. It doesn't rain that much in California. In fact, they've made songs about it never raining in California. So things get really dry. And I honestly think that what's happening is you're going to have, and I've seen videos of it, there's a lot of mentally ill people in California. There's a lot of homeless people who have schizophrenia, and they set shit on fire. And there's even a video of a woman just setting a fire, and this woman's trying to stop her from setting more fires. I just think there's just this perfect storm going on in California between the homelessness, the mental illness, and just the mismanagement of the areas. Which is funny. You said earlier that California does not take care of the people, yet they are the most taxed. They have a more socialist state than a lot of states. So when you look at socialism and what California claims to be, it really doesn't pan out when shit hits the fan, does it?
Right. No, not at all. And I wish that we could get to the point where the cost of living around that would match. And it's just not, it's wild to me how people will look down on some of the southern states where like, the average income is much lower than California. Like Californians almost like it's like the rich elite, the liberal elites in California feel that they're so high and mighty, but bitch, I don't pay $8 for a gallon of gas. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you can get acreage in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, North Carolina, for like, you can get 10 acres for what it would be a just barely small, like little tiny house in LA. So it's just a world of difference.
Where I live is priced closer to California. Brentwood, Tennessee is ridiculous. It's astronomical. My next house is not going to be in Brentwood. It's going to be somewhere with land. Now you can go outskirts. There's plenty of beautiful areas out towards Chattanooga, out and towards Knoxville that you can get acreage a lot for your money. And it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. And the weather's great. So yeah, I understand the lure of living in California. And I think Cernovich puts it best. If you can't make up for what you pay in California with all the opportunity in California, it is the 5th largest economy. There's a ton of opportunity. For shit's sakes, dude, I own a business in California. Like,
Yeah.
I like California. I'm a big fan of Orange County. I like California. I grew up in California. I'm a Californian. I can't read for shit. So I grew up, I'm still getting used to these. I grew up in California. So
Mhm.
I'm a Californian through and through, but the mismanagement of that state, I saw the writing on the wall in the early 2000s. I'm like, yo, we got to get out of here, Katie. Let's
Yeah.
move somewhere else. We moved to North Carolina. So I just, it's a shame because I don't think people understand the greatest place in the history of the world. I'm talking about in the history of the world since the beginning of
Mhm.
human civilization. The greatest place to live was California in the 90s. It was the land of milk and honey. It was affordable. I remember seeing gas at under $1. Remember
Damn.
that gas was under $1. Like, it was so gorgeous. You could be at the beach in the sun in a bathing suit in the morning and drive up to Big Bear and be snowboarding in the evening. Like, it is such a perfect territory. But as soon as, it was the mid 90s, and that was when the Republicans lost. That was when Pete
Mhm.
Wilson lost, and he enacted something called Proposition 187. Proposition 187 was essentially what we're trying to do now. It was cutting off free stuff for the illegal immigrants. The Democrats were able to spin that Republicans hate Mexicans, who traditionally are conservative because they don't like killing babies.
Right.
And here we are. So that pivotal turning point, you could blame pretty much all on Pete Wilson,
Mhm.
governor at the time, led to Gray Davis, and then he got recalled. Arnold got into office.
Mhm.
Arnold tried to do things, but he was kind of just held back by a very, very liberal legislature. So I'm not pro Arnold right now. I think he's a piece of shit. But he
Right.
was trying to get some stuff done. It's just when your entire legislature is Democrat, they
Right.
just they
What can you do?
completely blocked him at every pass. So here we are, and California has been in a free fall. Homelessness. As someone who grew up there, and I go there probably 8 to 12 times a year. I'm there all
Mhm.
the time. It's really sad to see what's happened. It's not safe anymore. It's and when I say it's not safe, there's always been bad areas, but the
Right.
problem is every area has its problems. Now there are areas of Orange County that are still the same, that are still awesome.
Right.
Orange County is the one place in California that I'm like, all right, still awesome. But you go outside, you go into LA County, you go into Riverside County, and all those things have spilled over. So what you're seeing here, and you're going to see more problems, but the complete lack of infrastructure is inexplicable. Inexplicable. I tried to use big words, and that's what happens. You cannot give me an explanation for why a place that charges so much for infrastructure is
Mhm.
completely caught with their pants down when infrastructure is needed.
It's wild because, like, we can even play this clip real quick. This is Trump. Whoops. Give me a second.
That looks just like Donald Trump.
It looks just like him. But this is Trump right here. And this is on the Rogan podcast, right? And he said this a while ago, but listen up.
They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why do you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north. Water, more water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. I could have water for all of that land, water for your forests. Your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You could have everything. Not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires. And, there's a case with the environment. They're not allowed to rake their forests because you're not allowed to touch it. And all they have to do is clean their forest, meaning rake it up, get rid of the leaves, get rid of, leaves that are sitting there for 5 years. And
we'll certainly get rid of the dead fall.
And get rid of the trees that are fallen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's right.
And he's absolutely 100% right. It's like if you have woods on your property and you just don't, and you let it just accumulate, and then all of a sudden you get a very dry spell and a very hot spell. One spark sets that shit off. We were driving down the road the other day and had to pull over. There was somebody flicked a cigarette out, and it's been dry as fuck here. So me and a couple other guys, finally somebody showed up with a fire extinguisher. We had to like stomp out a fire by the side of the road before it got into somebody's field. It's like that shit happens, and especially when you got crazy people, when you're literally kind of promoting crazy people.
It's an insane asylum.
Yeah,
it's an insane. I got a piece of audio to play, but my screen share audio just got lost. I'll be right back.
Later. But it's this craziness that we have going on here right now. Like, if you live in California, I got nothing against you. I really don't. I just don't know why you stay, and I definitely don't know why you keep voting the way you vote. That's for sure.
I agree with you on California, dude. Like, I do understand, and Cernovich, we'll actually get to that in a second. Cernovich actually hits on that, but I want to show you this thing from Elon Musk where he's showing this video of what's going on. And I believe this is Pacific, which you're looking at multi-million dollar homes.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
this looks an awful lot like a Haina, doesn't it?
Yeah, look at the street below. That's how it looked before. Pacific Palisades, just so you know, it's gorgeous area. I don't think I'll ever be able to afford to live there. I don't think I'd want to afford to live there.
Holy fuck.
Front homes.
Jesus. Oh my God.
So they're comparing and contrasting what it looked like before. I'm guessing they got Google images of it or whatever.
Yeah.
Again, it's a scenic, beautiful area. I've spent some time there when I was growing up. Obviously, you live in California, it's out towards Malibu. It's beautiful.
And all these people have had their fire insurance canceled recently, right?
Yeah, it appears so. And I actually have a theory on that. And it's not the theory you think it's going to be. The firefighters can't do anything because they have no water and the winds. Now you have to realize, like, California is extremely windy. Like, it just is. The Santa Ana winds will kick in and it'll blow you away. Like, the winds get up there. So what'll happen is you get these winds, and even if they did have water, the planes and the helicopters can't fly because they're getting 80-mile-per-hour gusts. And that just happens. California gets windy, especially by the ocean. If you've ever been even to Miami, Virginia Beach, you'll understand that those winds coming off the coast, they're pretty extreme. So what I think happened with the insurance is pretty simple. I do believe it is a coincidence, and here's why. Now, they have assessors, right? The insurance people go out and assess. So they're out there assessing the fire zones, and you pay extra if you're in a fire zone. I know, because when I lived in Silmar, we had to pay. Our insurance was ridiculous. We had a $280,000 house at the time, and our fire insurance was inexplicable. There's the word. You could not understand how high this. I can't remember the exact amount, but it was absurd. Because they looked at the mountains behind us, like, well, they haven't raked these bitches. These things are going to burn. Like, we're going to charge these guys a lot because there's a good chance their house is going up in flames. So what happened is, because remember, they could have just charged them more, Alan. They could have.
Right.
But they would have literally had to charge them what it cost for their house, because they went out, they did this risk assessment, and they're like, dude, there's no amount of money we can charge these people that'll make it worth insuring their house and their belongings. Keep in mind, these are multi-million-dollar houses. Is someone going to pay $100,000 a month for insurance? No. So they're like, you know what? We're out. We're just not going to insure this area. And then the other insurance companies saw this, because remember, there's more than one insurance company. Look, people couldn't find insurance. That means every insurance company looked down the line. They're like, okay, why did this guy not insure it? And they're like, oh, they didn't they didn't insure because the brush. Then they go out, they check the brush, they're like, oh shit, yeah, we can't. We can't do this. There's no way. So it's just absurd.
I get that. I mean, to me, that's business. I mean, I understand. But, that is also, it's the same thing, like, when you have, like, it's the same thing with health insurance. Like, when it's predicted that health insurance rates are going to go up because the level of obesity goes up, or the level of chronic illness goes up, or heart disease, or something like that. Like, insurance rates will go up, but nothing is said about it to the American people, right? It just keeps going up and up because they keep making more money and more money, right? And the people in charge of the what can actually stop it from going up don't say anything. And that's what's similar to what's going on here. The people that could have controlled the, and don't get me wrong, California is always going to have some issues with fire as long as they don't have the water, as long as they don't take care of the forest. So there's a two-pronged thing that they're not taking care of that the insurance companies are even saying, predicting this is going to happen. And yet nothing gets done about it,
Well, the insurance companies, so they're a business. They need to make money. So they're taking a risk.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
When they insure you, they're like, okay, like renter's insurance. I think it's like $20 a month for like for an apartment. Right. And we have like, let's say $20,000 in stuff. They're like, okay, we're going to get $240 a year, but there's only a 2% chance that we're going to have to do this. So you get thousands of people, they're going to be profitable. Right. But if you have a situation where a whole entire community could burn down and your company, the insurance company will go out of business. Like the insurance company will go belly up. And that's how insurance works. Like what they do is they're hedging their bets that your shit's not going to go wrong. Yeah. That's insurance. They're like, you know what? We'll pay you $200,000 if you pay us $200 a month. And God forbid something happens, we'll pay it out. And it most of the time it doesn't happen. Like term life insurance. What are the like? Why do you think they take your health? Okay. Based on our statistics, there's a 1% chance that this person's going to die in the next 20 years. That's why the closer you are to death, be it comorbidities or age, the more money it costs to insure yourself. These insurance companies, their job is to not pay you. That's how they're profitable. And that's why you have to follow the rules. Like, okay, life insurance, okay, you paid in for your entire life. By the time you get that life insurance, bro, you've already paid that thing twice. Yeah.
I mean, like literally, I totally get it. Like I really do. And the insurance companies would definitely go out of business if it was for the, hang on a second. I'm looking up the average home price in Palisades, Florida.
Yeah.
Or California. According to Grok, the average home price in Pacific Palisades, California is $3.5 million motherfucking dollars.
Wow.
And this definitely would have bankrupted a fucking insurance company.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, it would have. Each one of these is a fucking house.
Yeah. No, I mean, insurance doesn't cover I don't think it covers I think it covers the cost to rebuild your house, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I mean, but look at all those 3.5. If that's all 3.5 million, that's a lot of millions of dollars there.
Yeah, that's the average. So the average price of house is 3.5. That's fucking insane right there.
That's the average.
If they don't oust Newsom now, I don't know what the fuck they'll do. Like that's the thing. Like all the rich like Hollywood types are now being affected by this. I wonder what the fuck they're going to do now. Like it's going to be interesting.
Well, I mean, you got to realize, like, have you ever looked up a net worth of a celebrity, like a legit one, like not the fake ones, but they're usually worth like 10 to 30 million. And that's what they're worth. That's not their liquid cash. That's not fuck you money. Like a lot of these celebrities don't have fuck you money. Like even the ones you think have fuck you money, they don't have fuck you money. So if you're worth $10 million, that includes your assets. That includes non-liquid. That's everything. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to go over mine, but like, I don't have fuck you money, right? I have okay money, but my net worth is probably higher than a lot of the people who live in these neighborhoods. And I couldn't just go and fucking put 3.5 on a new house.
No, hell no.
There's no way.
Absolutely not. I mean, absolutely not. And and even if you could, it's not something that wouldn't hurt them because it's not like now unless they have a second home, but I just don't understand why you would want to live there. So you're going to rebuild, so you can't get fire insurance, so this can fucking happen again.
Well, that's when they moved to Tennessee. That's what happens.
Yep. I mean, Florida, Texas, and Tennessee are about to get packed as a motherfucker.
And wasn't the mayor of LA? I got to look up. The mayor of Los Angeles was in some doing a trip somewhere stupid. Was like Ghana or something.
Yeah.
I got to look it up, somewhere. But. Yeah, so she wasn't even there. And I love, my favorite is, hold on, let me find this. People are literally blaming this on Trump like he's president. Let me pull this up. Okay,
Get the fuck outta here.
Okay, hold on. I actually replied to this one. Here we go. Okay, that's just my tweet. The tweet it's in reply to is, while Trump is braying like an ass about annexing Canada, Canadians are in Los Angeles tonight dropping water on the Palisades fire. What the fuck do you want Trump to do? Put on a fire suit? Like, he's not the president. He's got like 12 more days.
I mean, here's the thing. So Biden literally has given another 500 million or billion or whatever, $500 million to Ukraine right now, right? Which is fucking crazy. Did you see that fucking old ass geriatric fucking addle-brained bitch talking about like, hey, but the good news is today I'm a great grandfather. Like, fuck, that's not what we want to goddamn hear.
He's tone deaf. No, I don't think he's tone deaf. He's just senile.
He's senile. I also saw, side note ADHD thing. He is thinking about preemptively pardoning Fauci. First of all, for what? If he did nothing wrong, why the fuck would you need to pardon him? But secondly, not one pardon, executive order, none of the money he's even given away should be seen as valid. His son's pardon shouldn't be valid. He was found like last year to be so incompetent he couldn't stand trial for, as the vice president, taking top secret information to his house. Vice presidents don't have that authority. Presidents do, vice presidents don't. But he was found so addle-brained that he couldn't stand trial. If he can't stand trial for a crime because he's so demented, he should have been ousted anyway from being president, but he definitely shouldn't be making it now. The entire left, all the Democrats literally admit that he is cognitively impaired, that they've been hiding it, that he's cognitively impaired. Why is he still pardoning people? Who is doing it? Because it's not him. And none of these things should stand. None of these things should stand. And I will say this about Fauci: crimes against humanity should not be pardonable.
No. Nuremberg should not be pardonable. I mean, not at all. Right. So here's the LA mayor. It looks kind of like the old Chicago mayor, except with lighter hair color. Right. Lightfoot. Yep, there we go. So this is from Sky News. I believe that's an Australian broad. So we can't rely on American reporters to actually ask the questions. We got to outsource this bitch to Australia, the based Australians.
Citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning. Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today?
What do you say to that, though? Like, I mean, dude, this is who they elect, though. Like, oh, man, I don't want to be one of those people you get what you vote for. But unfortunately, sometimes you get what you vote for. I don't want to be that guy because there's a lot of based good people in LA. And there's a lot of people who are just not paying attention in LA, like I was for a lot of my life. So I can't be that guy. Like in 2008, 2009, dude, the stock market, the market crashed and everything was fucked. I didn't know about it till 2015. I was just working, trying to provide for my family. Now, I wasn't voting Democrat. Okay, I voted Republican that time, but I didn't know that. I just was like, hey, yeah, I think I'm going to vote for this guy. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't really involved. I was just like, yeah, I like the economy. I think the Republicans are better at that point. That's when I was past my collegiate Democrat stage or my high school Democrat stage, and I was in my adult fuck politics stage, which I kind of miss. I kind of miss it. But let's see. So he just berates her.
Yeah.
Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster?
Biden's about to deport him right now. He's losing his visa.
Exactly.
No apology for them.
She's just like, open the fucking door.
Visiting Ghana while this was unfolding.
Yeah, I was right. She was in Ghana. Because the LA mayor really needs to go do fucking, fucking trips to Ghana for humanitarian. Like, what the fuck? I'm sure the California taxpayer paid for that too.
Yep. I'm sure,
Back
and that's
home.
what that's.
Like, yo, come on, we can go. Some of that woman's face.
Wow.
She has a
Yeah,
bloody
I know.
nose or something. I was interested in that one.
Running. Running.
Got her on the tarmac.
Madam Mayor, let me ask you just again, have you anything to say to the citizens today as you return?
Where is she going? I don't have this kind of access at LAX.
Madam Mayor,
Right,
just
I
a
mean,
few
that's
words
fucking
for
crazy.
the citizens today as you return to deal with the catastrophe.
Can you take this down?
Did they just unlock her car? Is she really parked?
so.
Like, where is she parked?
I
gotta
don't know.
take Ubers. I want to be a mayor.
David, as you say, she wasn't very keen to answer any of your questions there. And fire
That house is gorgeous, by the way. That sucks.
Yeah, dude.
Basketball hoop means they have kids. Oh man, that's so sad to see.
chiefs are also admitting that they just don't have enough personnel to take out the fires.
Yeah, they're fighting all sorts of challenges. They're talking about a water shortage. There are reports of fire hydrant failures. They've been unable to use firefighting aircraft for much of the day due to the smoke that is billowing ominously from the hills where the wildfires are raging. And I suppose despite that political storm, this is, of course, at its heart, a human story, because we've now 80,000 people evacuated. Tens of thousands of others are on standby to be evacuated. 2 lives have been lost in the Eaton fire, which is what's causing the consequence behind us. The city's iconic landscape almost shrouded completely by the smoke. And they're really just taking it one step at a time, hoping at some stage the wind's going to change direction or to die down, and that they're going to be able to get this fire under control. Do you
Unreal. It's just
Unbelievable,
mismanagement.
It
Just
is. It's complete
mismanagement,
mismanagement. And I mean,
And
I
so,
just,
so, you know, I love when they, why? Well, I don't want to pay property taxes. What about the roads? I'm like, yeah, what are they doing with the property taxes there?
right.
Where's
And
my
the
fucking property tax?
And the property taxes there are probably fucking crazy.
So actually in California, it's wild. So like my mother-in-law's owned her house since who fucking knows, right? Her property tax is ridiculously low. I'm talking like single digit thousands, right?
Mhm.
Now, if someone was to buy her house, they'd probably be paying $40,000, $50,000 a year in taxes. Just put it in
Yeah.
perspective. So they have this law was passed. I don't remember when, but essentially they can only raise you like 2% a year. So people who've owned their house for a long time, their property taxes are where they were in like the 90s, but going up by
I
2%
gotcha.
a year.
Right.
But if you buy a new house, oh boy, you're
Yeah.
paying some property tax. Not as
Right.
high as New Jersey or Illinois, but pretty fucking high.
But the average price of each home is higher in Pacific Palisades also too.
Then definitely than Illinois, but not then.
Yeah.
I think New Jersey's pretty exorbitant too.
Really?
So yeah, it's New Jersey's fucked. Like New
Yeah.
Jersey is an absolute shithole.
Yeah.
No offense to all our New
Wow.
Jersey people.
Yeah.
Yeah, New Jersey's just fucked. So I don't know what to make of this, man. I mean, it's terrible. It's horrible to see as someone who comes from that area. Well, not Malibu, I can afford that area, but like as someone who comes from that area, it's like, man, you know. But then you go back to what we were talking about before in this post by Jeremy Kaufman about the insurance companies knew
Yeah.
fires were likely in the Palisades. Yes, they did. Anybody, I could have told you that, right?
Yep.
But since it's illegal to raise insurance prices, they just oh shit. So yeah, that's what happened. I remember this. So they were trying to cap insurance prices. Then I remember there's this big what to do about insurance companies leaving. So instead of just charging them more, I stand corrected, Jeremy. Thank you. Instead of just charging them more, they were just like, fuck it, we're out. So they're literally chasing businesses out with rules that are not applicable. Because they're like, oh, they're overcharging people. And the insurance company's like, guys, we can't charge this money or else we're fucked. We're going to be bankrupt. They're like, nope, this is the law. They're like, fine, we're not doing business in California. It's almost what I've said this so many times. I'm almost at a point where I have to decide if I want to not sell my products in California, because the laws, they sue you. I have 3 lawsuits concurrent right now from California for shit I didn't do. For shit I didn't do. But it's
That's
just
wild.
that their laws, they sue you until you settle. So then you have to fight. So if you settle, which I have done, if you settle, then it shows in the public record that you settled. So all the other vultures out there, because their laws, they will sue you and sue you and sue you because they know you're going to settle. So you have to fight them. To fight them costs between $20,000 and $200,000.
Jesus fucking Christ. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I literally, dude, we get deposed. Like I'm in deposition like every other week. It's fucking ridiculous.
That's
For
crazy.
shit we didn't do, that it never happened. It doesn't happen. It can't happen in any other state, just California. It's at the point where I'm almost about to stop shipping to California and stop selling to California altogether. That's where we're at right now.
That's what happens, though. I mean, they're making it like, look at how many businesses have moved out of California. Like a ton of them have moved out of California, and that's like shit. Meta's moving moving some of its stuff to Texas already too. Like, it's because they're just are so constrictive on businesses and people. They try to regulate. It's socialism almost. Like, they're trying to be very rich socialists, and it's almost like the lords and the peasants. It's getting to be like there's almost no middle class.
Dan, what do you want an example of, sir? We'll give you the example.
Right.
Yeah, I want to expand on that because we go really fast. So you could have been 10 topics ago. I have no idea what's going on, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happens is, that's exactly what happens. So they were like, okay, it gets to the point where you can't, if you're talking about the lawsuits, Prop 65, look it up.
No, Prop 65 is stupid.
Prop 65, look it up. Look it up. It is, I'm not going to say anything further, but yeah, it's a Prop 65. So basically what they did is, so naturally occurring in the soil are lead, cadmium, even slight levels of arsenic. So, but it's non-detectable or barely trace, right? But it's in every element. It is literally a chemical element in everything on earth. So what they did in California is they set these things at levels that are below the levels that naturally occurring things are found at. Right. So for example, if I have, let's say, a plant-based protein, right? So you have to put a warning on all your products. I have it on products, even products that do not come near the levels I put it on there. Because what happened once, I actually tested my stuff. And I'm like, no, you're wrong. These levels are low. And they said, no, our lab says your levels are high. So it was either concede to the levels they say or go to court and pay for lab test after lab test after lab test, dueling lab tests. By the time I got done with that, we estimated it would have cost us about $140,000.
Right.
So even though I was right, I still have to put a Prop 65 warning on every product. And it affects sales because it says found in the state of California to potentially cause cancer. Even though it's not, it's only in California. It's found. Notice the stupidity of that. In the state of California, this might cause cancer. But if I eat this in Arizona, it won't cause cancer.
Right. So weird.
But yeah, it costs us sales having on the label. Again, we've been litigated against multiple times for that because I have multiple brands. And it's a bunch of vulture, the most horrible class action pieces of shit you'll ever find. And we've it's happened time and time again. And there's nothing you could do about it. I got sued once. You want more examples? I got sued once out of California for sending emails. This one firm claimed that they owned the patent on emails after you. So if, let's say you place an order from Tiger Fitness and I send you a thank you for ordering email, they claim they own the patent on that. So they sued me. And they wanted $5,000 to settle. So I asked my attorney, how much will it cost? He's like, you'll win. Like, well, how much will it cost to fight this? He's about $10K. That's what they do. right?
Mhm.
It's a fucking scheme. It's a scam. So I'm like, okay, fuck it. We're fighting it. So I fought it and I countersued them for $5,000
Hmm.
and I actually won. So that one ended up in my favor, but it cost me about 70 hours,
Mhm.
right? And it cost me.
Which put monetary value on your time, right?
I don't even want to give you the math for that. How much money I
Right.
generate just in sales for Ambrosia. I'm
Right.
doing my daily job, right? Like, do the math.
Right.
We're in every single fucking Sprouts. Like,
Right.
my time is very valuable. So, yeah, it's man, I hate California. I love the fact that I'm from there. I'll always be a Californian. My daughter was born in California. My wife was born in California. But I hate what that state's become. It's
Yeah.
just a cesspool of corruption, and you're seeing it now. And unfortunately, but you know what the bad thing is? You know what people are going to see? Oh, well, fuck those rich people. They don't need the houses.
Mhm.
You don't know their financial situation. I mean, this guy,
Yeah.
it could be someone who saved up their whole life, and that house could be what they can afford. That's okay. We can afford, like when you're buying a house, and you're like, I can afford a house between 2.5 and 3.5 million, which in California is a normal house, right? And
Mhm.
you're like, you know what? This is our dream house. We can make it work, honey. I'll take some extra shifts and you can work, and we'll send our kids to, it's a good public school here. We don't pay for private school. And because Pacific Palisades, good schools. Okay, cool. You know, let's do it. Dude, they just lost everything. And they probably don't have much savings. Not everybody who lives in a $3 million house
Right.
is financially fuck you rich. But unfortunately, that's how the left looks at it. Anybody who has something nicer than them, they want them to fail.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and a lot of these times what people don't believe is or understand is that a ton of people, and I mean a fucking ton of people, live way beyond their goddamn means.
Yes.
You know, like I mean, they will buy a house to rent out to people. Shit, we know a bunch of fitness people that rent out houses and pretend they're theirs. You know what I mean? Like
Good
shit
old
like
Wes.
that. You know, like good old Wes. But it's to me that's fucking crazy. Like, and no matter what, it's I don't give a shit how rich you are. It's still $3.5 million. You
and
know,
it's
like
someone's
it's still,
belongings, right? Like this
yeah.
kids are losing their heirlooms and it's just like, man, but the left will look at it like, this Keith Olbermann was celebrating fucking James Wood's house burning down. Now, I will say this. Keith Olbermann, I'm not a violent man, and I can't say much because we are on YouTube.
Yeah.
Let's just say that the thoughts going through my mind of what I want to do to Keith Olbermann, not in a weird way. It's not a Diddy party. I can't say it on YouTube, but Keith Olbermann, there are, I'm not a violent man, but to Keith Olbermann, it would be beyond a hug.
Yeah, it would be on a hug.
I mean, what an evil, just fucking
piece of
what a
human being.
I mean, and if it's an act, he should be beat up for acting. Like what? I can't say enough bad things about Keith Olbermann. Like,
well, he's stupid too.
I mean, the thing that makes me mad is I used to be a huge fan. It's kind of like Mark Cuban, but more
right.
like Mark Cuban. I still respect him as a businessman. Because, dude, he's really good at business. I know people are like, oh, he did this. I'm like, dude, he's a billionaire. Shut up. Yeah. He's all right at business, right?
Mark Cuban was hedging his bet, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I really believe he was hedging his bet to try to be in a position to be in with the new administration with Kamala Harris. I really think he thought it, right? And
he lost the plot before then, though, Alan. He was literally sending people out to Narcon restaurants, like during COVID. Like Mark Cuban, like, man, I lost respect for him as a human being, but I maintained respect for him. And if I met him, I'd shake his hand and I'd tell him that I'm like, look, I still again, he's also an alum of my daughter's college. So I got to there's some love there, right?
Yeah.
There's some love, but Keith Olbermann, there's nothing good about that guy, but man, I loved him on SportsCenter back in the day, and that's what hurts. I used to love him. He used to be so good at his job, so good at his job, and then he just fucking flipped out one day, got political, and he just became a really horrible human being, and it's just so sad to see because I think he's a talented guy, But there's no respect. I have no respect on any level for Keith Olbermann. None. If he dies tomorrow, I will not shed a tear. I will not celebrate.
No.
But, if Mark Cuban died, I'll be like, that sucks, man. Mark Cuban had a lot of great traits. But Keith Olbermann, I believe the world's a better place without him. I do.
Oh, by far. Excuse me, by far.
That doesn't make me an evil person. I'm not wishing death upon him. I'm saying that he contributes nothing of value to this world, and the world is better off without his toxicity. And that's not anything that's not wishing death upon someone. That's just stating an obvious fact.
It's how gleeful he was at people's pain. Like, look, he's celebrating somebody losing all their belongings right now. I don't want to see anybody lose their shit, except for pedophiles. I can say that. I can say
yeah, we stand in agreement on that one.
Yeah, they're not human. They're subhuman.
Your pedophile argument is what got me to reverse my decision on the death penalty. Yeah. I was vehemently anti-death penalty. Just through the roof, this no excuse. And then we started evening rants, and I'm like, all right, you got me. You found the exception.
The reality is, like, when you think about it, it's cruel and unusual to have the parents and or a person who was the victim of a pedophile then have their taxes go to support this person in jail, and then the person get out and be amongst people. Like, nah, they've basically killed the person that child was going to be. Bingo. So they should lose their life.
I couldn't agree more. Well, dude.
I thought I would elaborate to people watching, because that's how I feel about that.
You changed my mind on that. No, you changed my mind on that one. I was Mr. Libertarian, not non-aggression, and then I'm like, okay, we can make an exception for the aggression. And if you guys go back, like we're on episode like 181, you go back to like episode 4 or 5, we probably had that debate. And I was like, nah, if you could only save just one line, I'm like, nah, whatever. I'm like, nah, we're good. We can make an exception there. And then you get even more exceptions, right? Then you go on that slippery slope. Because, okay, pedophiles, what about serial murderers? Ooh. Yeah, that's another one,
Like, if they can't be rehabilitated, why do we keep them? Why do we keep them in society? Like, why do we keep them the possibility?
Well, we had this debate yesterday about the prison system, right? Like, prison's supposed to reform. So why do we have felonies put felon on their work application? It should be like, that should be almost something you never talk. It should be like a don't ask, don't tell. But it is, because we're not truly reforming the prisoners.
Right, and everybody knows it because people are making money off of it. It's such a good point. Like, such a good point.
Man, yeah. I want to go to Cernovich.
Yes, please.
So here's Cernovich's take on what to do in California. Oh, there's you again. Oh, look, that looks. I think we just leave the show like this. That looks much better.
Woo!
You look amazing today, bro. I always click the wrong button. You never click the wrong button. I'm always fucking everything up, bro.
I just shaved, so I'm super smooth and shiny.
All right, here's Cerno. Okay, hold on. I have it on mute. That's actually not my computer. That's my dumbass. Okay.
This is a traumatic thing. Right. And then people say, don't politicize it. And I say, I understand that. Those people who love America, I love them, and I truly feel for them. OK, the writers and the Hollywood people who live in the Palisades and have profited off of the corruption in California, it's 70-30 Democrat. So they didn't want to recall Newsom. They voted for Kamala Harris. My God, imagine if they had gotten their way. They supported Karen Bass, the Kennedy family. City council members in Santa Monica, they did this, and we're just supposed to pretend like they didn't, and we're just supposed to say, oh, I don't want to bring up the fact that this is a Democrat supermajority. Let's just kumbaya and pretend like they didn't do it, didn't vote for it. They did. So I don't want to see people like Marie Shriver showing her face, saying anything. I want to see people saying, what are you talking about? You voted for that. And they go, well, we didn't vote for fires. Oh, but you voted for Karen Bass instead of Caruso. You voted for people who can't keep water in fire hydrants. I know you come to California. We had record floods. The water just poured right into the ocean. No way to capture it. They were going to build all this Green New Deal stuff. They didn't do that. They couldn't build basins. So this is what Democrat supermajority gets us. So that's the case that I'm making for federal takeover of California. I know.
Oh my God.
You didn't watch it? Keep
going. No. Well, I know I love it, but that's a slippery slope, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
A little bit. I'm okay with it.
Trump is being a little cheeky.
Yeah. Okay, let's go, Cerno.
When he talks about Canada being a 51st state, and I think the reaction that Pierre, the Apple Eater, and others have is amusing, but California is a state. Under the Constitution, there's a case to be made that the federal government needs to come in to enforce the civil rights of the people, to act in a reconstruction kind of manner. So I want the Trump administration, and I'm a citizen and resident of California, I want the Trump administration to exercise its constitutional power to come in and fix all the election fraud. They have this authority. They have this authority under the 14th Amendment, Section 5. They have the authority to enforce the rights, the civil rights of me, the citizen, which is being deprived by the state government of California, where people can't trust the elections, where somehow these Orange County Republican areas all went Democrat, even though everywhere else was trending for Trump, but somehow Michelle Steele lost her election, even though she didn't run a good race, and I said that to their faces, and they wouldn't listen to me. So I don't know what to tell. Scott Baugh lost his. I don't know. So I am, unironically, this isn't me being cheeky when I'm talking about Canada being a state. I'm goofing off because I know it annoys the Canadians. I'm not joking. I want the federal government under Trump to come in and clean this state up, and they have the constitutional authority to do so.
Yeah.
I agree with him. So sitting down with Cernovich, talking to him, he's bright. Like he is wicked smart, like almost so smart. You could tell he's kind of got an Elon Musk thing where his brain seems to move faster than his mouth. Like there's so much going on up there, and he's trying to, articulate it. And he has a great point. What do you do when a state is completely infringing on its citizens' rights? That voting doesn't matter because, well, they don't require voter ID. Why would you not require voter ID unless you're doing foul play?
Right.
There's no other reason.
I do. One of Trump's promises is that he's going to do voter ID, like a federal mandate of voter ID. I believe that is well within the rights of the federal government, because frankly, their job is to. I sent him a message. Come on tomorrow, man. I'll have you on tomorrow. Mark's going to be away, so I'll have you can come on tomorrow and fill in, and we can talk more about it. But and I sent him a message already. But I think that we need to take a strong look at it. Like, the federal government's job: secure our border, which they're not doing, protect our rights, they're obviously not doing, and provide common defense, which they're barely doing, right? So it's like, if we can get the federal government to do those three things, we don't need the federal government to tell you what drugs you're allowed to have. I'm sorry, they don't have a right to fucking do that technically. We definitely don't need like the ATF, the CDC, like these big, like basically money sucking fucking pits that are designed to infringe upon the rights of people. Like the ATF is a rights infringement organization. That's it. It's literally a rights infringement.
Those are all legal things.
Right. Exactly.
Those are all legal things. It's not. They're not even blurred. Those are. Alcohol is legal, tobacco is legal, and firearms are enshrined in the Constitution.
Not only are they legal, but I would argue, what business of it is the government if you drink alcohol, smoke tobacco, or it's the same thing. Like, why is the government involved in our healthcare? The healthcare should be a free market business, because the government, if it was not for the government picks the winners, and they pick the big businesses all the time. They pick who wins. Like, the government doesn't say, "Hey, you're not allowed to charge a person more than $25 for a prescription." Period. Period. And it's fucked up because other countries, their monetary equivalent for drugs is radically lower than ours. They just know they can charge us more because our insurance companies will pay for it, and then they spread the cost around. So that's why there's the copay. The copay is bullshit. The copay is like the look of like, oh, you're paying something, bitch. But that means that I'm paying for it too because it's in my premium. It's the same thing with other stuff. So, I mean, and you know how I feel. Like, I'm a big, like, we should reboot the federal government back to like, all you do is protect the border, provide common defense. And then if it's something like California, where a state is infringing upon the constitutional rights of somebody, their job is to protect our constitutional rights. And that's what we should fucking have them do. Right. And that should look like, hey, you guys are saying that they need to pass, you need to approve them buying a gun. You don't have the right to do that because shall not be infringed. That's what the federal government should be doing,
Well, I mean, technically, you have these states going and doing like sanctuary states. for
Right.
illegal immigration. That is a direct violation of federal law. So that's where
Yeah.
it gets weird, right? Because the 10th Amendment gives states, it makes states sovereign.
Right.
However, if a state is falling outside of the scope of the Constitution,
Right.
then would it not be the federal government's duty to enforce the laws of the Constitution onto a runaway sovereign state? That's
Yeah.
I'm not a constitutional scholar. I don't pretend to
Right.
be one.
Yeah, me either.
But how do you reconcile that where you have a government, a local government, because state would be local. If you have a local government that is completely run amok, and then you have a federal government, it's like, hey, you got to follow the Constitution. That's what binds this country together.
Right.
What do you do? Like that's a weird question for me because I'm big on states' rights. But at the same time, the states' rights have to fall within the boundaries, the confinement of the U.S. Constitution, which to me is, it's hard to reconcile that because on one hand, it's, we were like, well, if this shit ever goes crazy, lucky we live in a red state,
Right.
So we're basically asking a red federal government to encroach on the rights of a blue state. And that gets weird. So
I agree.
I don't know.
I agree.
I mean, but if it's affecting the federal vote,
Right.
If California not having fair elections, that infringes upon the rights of other states and their votes, because it does, because of all the electorates and everything.
Right.
Does that warrant the federal government say, hey, we got to clean this federal election shit up? You can't just make this shit up. Like, you have to follow this because you can't just do what you're doing.
Right. I would think so. Like, it's weird. Like, I mean, obviously, anybody that's watched the show for any length of time or listened to me, I think the government is so corrupt that it's beyond repair at this stage. Like, I think that like the people, like I actually, like this is generational. Like, Trump is not the fix. Okay. He may be able to wave a wand and change a bunch of shit for the better and maybe aim it in the right direction, but he's not the fix. Like, the corruption is super fucking deep. Think about just how much the federal government in the last 50 years has enacted things, policies, rules, even laws that have led to poor health. Like, they know this. Like, these are the people that collect the data. So they watch us getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and they keep making it happen. And then they don't do anything about it. They just manage the sickness. That means that they're completely, and I mean completely, in many, many different industries and areas of the government, totally in the pocket of the people that want to oppress, right? And to me, it's just going to be this wild thing. Like, we would need to get rid of the entire USDA, the entire CDC, the entire NIH, the entire medical portion of the government. We would need to get rid of the IRS. We would need to get rid of the ATF. We would need to get rid of all of these agencies that are literally built around infringing upon our rights, and I just don't see that happening for generations. I really don't.
We shouldn't need an IRS. We shouldn't need one.
Absolutely not.
The fact that our tax code is so complicated that I need to have a team do my taxes, I should be able to be, okay, let me just throw out a number. I made $1 million. I owe you 10%. Okay, here's $100,000. Call it a day. No, instead I have to pay. Dude, I have to prepay my taxes. I have to pay estimated taxes before I make the money. Isn't that crazy? So I have to pay estimated taxes every quarter. So money I haven't made yet, unrealized financial gains, I have to pay tens of thousands of dollars every single quarter. That is absurd. I am prepaying my taxes. And here's the thing. If I undershoot it, they charge me extra because I didn't guess how much I'd owe on taxes.
Right. It's fucking crazy. Like,
but if I overpay it, they just credit it towards the next one. They don't pay me a penalty for me overpaying it.
Yeah.
I don't understand how the fuck we got to this place where I'm paying over 50% in my income in taxes.
Yeah. In some way or another.
I'm paying over 50%. And I've done the math. It's well over 50. It's closer to 60. And I also have, but I don't play games. Like, if the IRS audits me, I got it. Like, okay,
Mhm.
it's going to be a pain in the ass. That's another thing. The IRS audits you. You're not working. It's a full-time job handling that audit. And you're paying your accountant, you're paying your attorneys. But I don't do any shady shit. Like, we don't even fuck around with donations. Like, some people are like,
Right.
oh, we'll just write off this. No, we don't fuck with that. If I make a donation, I have the receipt. It has a purpose. It's not overestimated. I'm not telling you I gave a shirt for $1,000. So that shirt was worth whatever they asked. But it's like, I don't fuck with the tax system. I don't play that aggressive shit because they will get you. I give them no reason to come after me. And if they do, we got everything cinched up. We got everything explained. We got paperwork for everything. But to get to that level, do you know how much money it costs a year to pay a team to make sure that my taxes are perfect? It's absurd how much time my wife spends every month, and she doesn't even do our taxes. She just gets the shit ready.
Yeah.
My wife is spending dozens of hours a month simply figuring out how much we owe the government to send it to someone else to figure out how much we owe the government.
And, one more time, you look at how states run, like Florida, Tennessee, state tax, no income tax. They have a state sales tax, no income tax.
No, yep.
I don't understand why we just people couldn't keep just all of their it's really such an invasion of privacy too, because they want to know how much money you make. You have no right to know that. Why does the government need to know how much money you make, I make, anybody makes?
Consumption
I don't
tax
understand.
fixes all that.
Right, a consumption tax fixes all of that, and I don't understand how it could be. And again, I will say this: it's like the whole. If Florida seceded, right? They had their own military, everything like that. People are like, oh, that would never happen. Really? Because they could raise their sales tax up just a few percent and nobody in the state of Florida would be paying federal tax anymore. So they would actually get to have more of their fucking money and it would actually boom their economy more, right?
Yeah.
And they make it advantageous for people to go there too, which is another big thing. But it's like this wild thing we have. And when taxes, back to the thing that Cernovich was saying, when you pay an astronomical amount for your property, for your gas, for your electric, and then you have to be, they get rationed on water and shit like that. It's wild.
So you can only water your lawn on certain days of the week. In fact, talk about the environment. Do you realize most houses in California, a lot of them, not most, have taken out all their plants and grass and have AstroTurf?
Wow, that's fucked up.
Yeah. So front yards are all turf because you can't water your grass. It just becomes mud, or not mud, but just dry. It's absurd. People don't even have grass; they have AstroTurf because the city won't let you water.
That's ridiculous. So that means if these people one of these rich homes, when they have a pool, right? So that means that pools probably cost so much ridiculous fucking money, just to have a pool. I don't get it.
It's crazy.
At some point in time, they're going to have to take a look at it. If the government is just taking from you and it's not giving anything back, the government is supposed to support the people. And if it's not, maybe you should do something they should be ousting Newsom fucking now.
But Alan, the people who live in these houses in California, they're voting for the Democrats.
So fucking stupid.
It doesn't make sense to me.
No.
It doesn't make sense to me at all when you have the red states that happen to have no sales tax,
right?
That are crushing it. So California is the fifth largest economy. It's still in billions of dollars in a deficit. So you're still in a deficit with the fifth largest economy. They always brag about the economy, but I always make this thing would you rather own, Alan, this for you? Would you rather own a $10 million business that does $1 million in profit a year, or a $100 million business that does $1 million in profit a year?
Wait, one more time. Let me do the math.
Would you rather own a $10 million business that does $1 million in profit a year, or a $100 million business that does $1 million in profit a year?
Well, the 10 million.
Yeah. So basically, think about it. If you're able to, if you're making a lot of money, if you're bringing in a lot of income, if you're bringing in a lot of revenue, but you're only making a bottom line of 1%, but you have a company a tenth of the size, but you're keeping 10%.
Right.
You're in a better position. There's less risk. There's a lot of different things that are better. So the goal is to have higher profit margins. The goal is to have higher EBITDA, things like that. But they don't run states like that. Tell me how you can have the 5th largest economy in the world and somehow figure out a way to lose money.
Yeah, it's
and while you're taxing people to the point of fucking absurdity.
You run it the same way that they run the federal government.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at that federally too. Like we're paying, our corporate tax rate is, well, lucky Trump's coming in, but it was on track to be the highest in the world. It's the most horrible place to own a business. You're paying, your top tax rate is 37%. That's absurd. That is absurd. Federal taking 37%. I don't care how much you make a year. That's absurd. And why are we punishing people for being successful? I never understood the scaling tax. Why are we scaling? I don't believe in a scaling tax. We should all pay equal. And then the people who make more probably worked harder and probably fucking deserve it.
Well, because we're rapidly heading towards socialism. It's the same thing how there's so many social programs to keep, and like insurance, like medical insurance. Medical insurance is a socialist program. People it's just disguised because everybody supports people that it's the outcome. It's the guaranteed outcome, right? And that's fucking crazy because some people work harder than other people. That's ridiculous. Like, I have, work hard, nobody cares. Nobody cares,
right? Work harder. Yep.
Nobody cares, work harder, right? Like, I just don't understand how that's not a thing. And that used to be America. Like when I was young, that used to be America. People took pride in working hard. People like athletes took pride in working out hard. People took pride in working hard at their jobs. And now we've just reached a stage where when you coddle people enough and when you give them enough programs to make them lazy and stupid and fucking idiots, that's what you're going to get. And that's where we're at. It's like that circle that's always talked about, like strong men make good times make weak men make bad times make strong men, and we're see bad times make strong men. I'm hoping that that's where we're at,
Yeah, it's frustrating to watch. It really is. And people, you're not paying your fair share. I'm like, so tell me, what's my fair share? If 50+% isn't fair, what do you want? Do you want me to fucking cut my hand and fucking say a prayer to you every day? Like, what do you want? Like, I'm working I look at it this way. I'm working 15-hour days. 7.5 of those I'm working for the government. And that's fucking bullshit.
Yep.
It's fucking bullshit, man. I'm fucking tired. I'll tell you what, like, I'm at my fucking wit's end. I'm at the point now where I can't fucking work any harder.
No,
I can't. I mean, my quality of life just trying, and also my job is to be a dad, but I have to work so hard to make sure that, I can succeed. And knowing that I could work half as hard if I didn't pay half of that shit to the government. Like, I don't think people understand how much work it takes to get to where a lot of successful people get to. It's fucking tiring. You can't take days off. All this fucking holiday season, I didn't have one full day off.
Dude, me and you, just so everybody understands, for the last now about 5 fucking years, my morning has started at like 6 in the morning, normally with Mark and I exchanging some sort of study or thought on something that is meant towards either helping people, building business, return on investment. That's 7 days a motherfucking week. Okay. Like that's when you we had somebody tell us recently, like, I envy you guys because I really want to start my own business because that way I get to set my own hours. Like, and I'm like, yeah, you do. When you wake up is when you start. When you go to bed, that's when you fucking end. Like, I mean, it's at any given time. I mean, even when you're coaching and shit like that, I know you're still scrolling through your phone, answering emails, all that shit, because I know when you're coaching and you do it anyway, right? It's like this fucking crazy shit that people don't understand. Not to mention the fact that, like, somebody in your position, you take massive risk with your money in starting new businesses, right? And nobody realizes that. It's like these people, I saw some fucking lunatic fat person the other day talking about how being a landlord there shouldn't be profit from being a landlord. Are you out of your motherfucking mind?
Why would you be a fucking landlord then?
Why would you be a landlord then?
And also, like, if there's no profit, what happens when the air conditioning unit goes out? What happens when the roof needs repaired? And fuck you, I took the risk. I bought that house. It could have depreciated.
Yep.
I fucking hate people like that. I'm sorry. They need to be waterboarded. I'm over stupid people. Like, everybody should want to keep their fucking money. Like, you should keep it. It's a shame. It's I mean, we told the story the other day, but a guy I used to work with or whatever. I mean, he crushed it like first month working there. First year, fucking crushed it. And then he's like, I was like, yeah, did you 1099, you know? And he's like, I got I got to pay taxes on this. I'm like, oh shit. Hopefully you saved about 40% of that, you know?
Yeah.
Fortunately, it was okay, but it was a rude awakening. He's like, oh
Right.
shit. I was like, damn.
It's insane. It's insane.
It
Man,
is.
I don't get it. So you're off tomorrow, right? I believe I'm going to have.
I'm going to be in Colorado. With my
So
son,
cool,
he's gonna be
bro.
wrestling.
So
I'm
fucking cool.
I'm excited. I'm excited. We get to so you come visit me. I don't care. Yeah, we're gonna come. We get to actually go to something at the Air Force Academy. I know I had to fill out paperwork to make sure I wasn't, you know, a fucking weirdo. That's okay. They gave me clearance. So we're gonna go there for a training session. And obviously, they're going to try and recruit my kid to be in the Air Force because that's what they do with young people. That's the military-industrial complex. And then we're going to go to the Olympic Training Center, and my son gets to train there. And then the next day, we have this huge tournament. It's a P&L tournament, which is basically from my experience, the hardest tournaments there are. So he gets to wrestle the best kids across the country. So it's going to be really fun. And this is my 11-year-old. My 16-year-old has another match. He destroyed that. I sent you the videos of me yesterday.
Oh, Jesus. It was like a mugging.
That poor kid. He's just such a dick. Such a violent little man. Yeah, but it's going to be a fun weekend, man. And we get home Sunday at like 5 and then just start the next week. But it's going to be a fun time. And I mean, going to the Olympic Training Center is like, I've always wanted to see it. And he gets to see it at 11. So he's got me beat.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's the beautiful thing about like how well you're coaching your kids and stuff like that. And again, one more time, Mark and I talked about a lot of shit that's wrong in our country, and a lot of this shit can be solved by mothers and fathers staying together and focusing on just their fucking children instead of trying to fucking be celebrities themselves. No shit. Like,
amen, dude. Amen. Just be a good person. Love your kids. You know, people always ask, like, what's your secret to parenting? They ask that because we appear to be a happy, adjusted family. And like all families, we have our issues, you know, but we pretty much are. What you see is what you get. And the thing is, if you love your kid, you'll kind of figure it out, right? Just take time to love your child and, you know, and know that they're not. I have 3 kids. They couldn't be more different. Like, they couldn't be more different in every aspect. But you know, all of them, they all work hard. They all have their own issues, their own mental and, you know, emotional hangups. But at the end of the day, listen to them and you kind of work with them. But also remember, you're not your kid's friend. You know, you have to be a parent. You have to be firm. You have to set rules and boundaries. And if they break them, you have to be willing to discipline them. By the way, that doesn't mean I don't spank my kids. We don't have to. Our kids respect us. And I also think it helps to be in shape. Because I think all my kids understand that if I wanted to, I could probably, well, except for Thomas, I think he'd probably take me now.
Thomas, Mark's son Thomas throws the meanest head snap and crossface of any wrestler
His slide by is insane.
It's interesting to watch because I've watched him for years now, right?
Yeah.
Because Mark sends me video right from the matches, right?
Literally from the match every time. I send it to him I send it in the family group, and then I send it to Alan, and then I send it to Bryce.
And it's like you can watch him week after week. Like he gets more into his style of doing shit. And his style is just like us, like a kind of a cocky asshole. But he's really good at it.
He's such an asshole. I love it though. I mean, last year he had the skill. He just wasn't. I'm going to be real. Like, he didn't hit puberty yet, right?
Yeah.
And that testosterone just made him much more aggressive and violent. And it brought out that side of him. So you know, it kind of put it together. Last year he had the skill, but like, at the beginning of the match, he would never shoot. He'd always be on the defense. But now he's got that kind of machismo, and it's cool to see the development. You know, everybody. Yeah, when you have kids, for those of you with young kids out there, like, man, I hope they don't get older. No, it gets better. Like, they do cool shit when they're older. It's really fun, and then you get to go on road trips with them and fly to Colorado with them. It's cool stuff. It's good stuff.
That's crazy. That's crazy like people.
Are you have Gabe on tomorrow?
I sent Gabe a message, and if I don't have Gabe, I'm going to have C. Marty on.
sweet.
If Gabe comes on, we'll be talking forest fires, and if C Marty comes on, we're going to be reading comment sections of fat people because they're getting absolutely glorious.
I sent you that one today that had me dying.
Oh, laughing my ass off. Yeah, and it's such a good thing, dude, because like I know it is. I mean, and here's why, and I hope people can grasp this. Mark and I make a lot of fat jokes and shit like that. But one, it's because you people look silly and you're funny and it's funny, you know. But two, if you're always told you're awesome when you are like not, you're not. There's no catalyst for you to change, and society needs to start catalyzing people to do better about all sorts of shit.
Amen.
I think that since Zuckerberg started changing, it's like you can tell that the algorithm is allowing this more almost on Instagram too. You know,
Gotta love it.
gotta love it.
All right, so
man.
I'll see you guys on Monday, and yeah, Alan, I'll try and stream you from the airplane tomorrow.
That would be good, man. That would be good. I hope everybody has a great day. I don't have an outro set up, so everybody just